Hi, it's Raashaun Jovan with Black Enterprise, and today we're getting a lesson on love from one of hip hop's favorite couples. We have Raashaun DJ Envy Casey and his beautiful wife, Mrs. Gia Casey. How are you two?
Are wonderful.
How are you?
How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm not even gonna lie. I binge read the book yesterday, like it was an episode of Love and Marriage Huntsville.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
What were your thoughts?
Oh gosh, it's really good. You're being extremely transparent. I respect it. And I'm engaged. I'm getting married in September. So I really appreciated the questions that you have for couples that are preparing to get married. And just offering all of your insight as a couple that's been together over 20 years and really grew up together. I think any kind of couple, whether they're engaged, just started dating, going through a rough patch, they can get a lot from the book.
Right. Thank you.
So now tell us, well, I think I just told them, but tell us what readers will get from Real Life, Real Love.
I think pretty much what you said. It's a journey of us being together since I was 16, she was 15, the ups, the downs. I think in our community, we don't necessarily talk about relationships, right? We don't talk about what works, what doesn't work, why it works, why it doesn't work. Well, at least I never did. And in this book, we get to talk about it. We talk about insecurities, where it comes from. We talk about cheating. We talk about and everything in between, how we make our relationship work. You know, people always talk about communication, or they always talk about love, but what is the real definition of that? You know, you always say, I love you, or I love you, but do we necessarily break down what love means? And if you love that person, would you hurt them? You know, so we break that down and we take you on our journey of how we learned. And it's not a pretty journey, but you know, there's some parts in the book that'll make you cry. There's some parts in the book that'll make you laugh. But I think at the end of the day, we figured out what love is for us and what works for us.
Yes, absolutely.
And why did you decide that now was the time to release this book?
We have been through, as Raashaun just described, so much. We've been through deep love, passionate love, great sex, being together since we were children, almost, going to high school together, going to college together, cheating, suicide, deaths. We've been through so much. And what I've found is that in life, but especially in our community, most people are so preoccupied with their image and try to ascertain control of what they put out and what people's perception is of them. When you're coming from that place, it strips you of certain forms of honesty, vulnerability, and transparency. And it's in our weakest moments that we learn. It's from our weakest moments that we're able to share and give the gift of something that's valuable to the people around us. So it's that sense of community through which we wanted to write this book. We wanted to tell people the complete, total, unadulterated truth so that people can identify things within themselves or things within the people that they're with that are either great or that might be red flags as to what can be amazing or what can be a pitfall, because we've been through all of it. So we wrote the book because we really wanted to share. We wanted to give of ourselves a tangible reference for people to be able to recognize themselves within.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, you're both being extremely transparent in the book. And were there anything that you didn't know about each other before that you learned from reading each other's parts of the book?
That's a good question.
For myself,
That's a good question.
I don't think much. I just think for myself, doing the book, writing the book, especially during the pandemic, it opens up all these wounds that you forget about. You know, as a man, and I'm sure most men out there, when we do something that's hurtful, we forget about it. So we act like it doesn't exist anymore. But then you realize—
You intentionally forget about it.
Absolutely.
Put it in a box and put it on the shelf.
Absolutely.
No, put it in a box and put it in the trash to be picked up on Tuesday morning.
Throw it in the ocean so you don't ever see it again. But you forget what you've done, whether it's, you know, something as insecurities or it's When you read the book, you realize I was controlling, and I'm saying, no, you can't wear that. And you realize what you've done because you forget about it because life moves so fast, and it reflects about, who you're married to, and I have to look back so many times. It's like, damn, would I be that forgiving? Would I be that patient? Would I be that caring? Would I be able to put my feelings first and not worry about, the fact that I hurt her, and it shows you who you're married to. Would I be willing to do that so early on in our relationship? I don't know. I don't know. But the fact that she was able to do that, you understand what real love is. So it just reminds you of who the person is you're married to.
Yeah. And was there anything you wanted to add?
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
During the lockdown, the height of the pandemic, we're all locked down, we're all together. During that period, did you learn anything about your marriage? Like, were there any revelations?
Yes. Listen, I've always known since maybe about 2 weeks in that this was my person, that this is the love of my life. Literally 15 years old, 2 weeks dating. I knew that this was going to be my forever person. I know it sounds crazy and maybe slightly unbelievable, but I knew it then. The pandemic and quarantine made me realize that I absolutely adore him. When you are locked up with someone for months and months and months, and we took the pandemic very, very seriously. We did not leave the house, I think, for 4 months, but to go grocery shopping.
Get groceries, yeah.
So we were just like everybody else, waking up together, eating together, enjoying our kids together, watching television together, playing games together.
Homeschool learning.
Homeschooling
Oh my goodness.
together. You name it, we did it together. When you find yourself in a situation where you can spend that much time with a person and realize that they do not annoy you, because I have friends that they would call and be like, hey, yo, I can't stand the way he breathes. I didn't know he breathed like that. The sounds he makes, it's just unbearable. They would find the most indiscriminate things that they disliked about the other person, because in a normal life, you get up together, right? You're both getting ready to go to work or whatever you're going to do during your day together. You kiss each other goodbye. You spend at least 8 hours without each other. By the time you come home, especially if you have kids, you prepare dinner, you feed the kids, bathe the kids, put the kids to sleep. You have about maybe another 2 hours before you go to sleep. So what do? You cuddle up, you watch something on TV, you have sex, you go to sleep. How much time did you really spend with that person through the work week? Then you spend time together on weekends. And what do most couples do on weekends? Yeah, you might go on a date, but a lot of times we might spend time together in group settings with other couples, or go to your friend's house for the game or for the fight, or, do things
Kids
like
got
that.
activities.
Kids have activities. You're spending time together that's distracted by other things and other people that are in your environment. But during this quarantine, there was none of that. Now you're spending time just with that person and or your kids. And I realized that this is someone I can be around constantly because I truly enjoy him. Right. I mean, I don't even remember fighting or arguing during the quarantine. And then when it was over, we were sad. We were having so much fun, and this was such a lovely experience. So yes, it really gave me a different lens through which to view our relationship.
And you kind of touched on my next question, because I wanted to know your take on why do you think so many couples were struggling during the lockdown? And I mean, from what you're saying, it's kind of like they're now realizing we don't enjoy each other, but how do you kind of allow it to get that far along before realizing that?
Well, what most people don't realize is Gia and I, we're probably the one couple that are on top of each other too much, if there is a too much. And it's not because we have to, but because we enjoy it.
Right.
So it's funny, like when I get off radio, First person I call is Gia, whether I'm riding to my home or I'm riding to the office, and we talk about whatever's going on in the world. Then when I'm at the office, I'm doing my office work, but then when I leave, I'm talking to her on the way to the gym or the way to the crib. Like, we consistently talk to each other all day long. And it's like, when people say their wife or their girl or their man is their best friend, or are they just saying that, or do they truly mean it? Like, people don't understand. Like, you know how you call your girl and be like, "Hey girl, how you like this dress?" Like, I call my wife like that. Like, "Babe, I got these jeans. What you think of these jeans?"
No, wait. He'll be in the dressing room, have me on FaceTime, facing the mirror, like, "You like these jeans?" We truly are best friends. And I mean, throughout our entire relationship, our friends would be like, "Oh my gosh, like the mushy names that you guys have for each other." And, the fact that you're constantly in communication. And then when you're together, and it started even when we were young, it would be him with 5, 6 of his boys out doing some manly type thing, and me. Like, he always wanted me there. So we always spent all of our time together that was aside from work or school.
Yeah.
But it was a choice.
Yeah. So that's us. So that's our relationship. So during pandemic, there was no different. The only difference now is I couldn't work, which was good, because now on weekends when I'm usually doing shows or traveling, I'm home and I love it. I enjoy it. It's the best feeling. You know what I mean? It's best when you can wake up with your wife and your wife is rubbing your back. It's dope when you can wake up and your wife cooks your favorite meal, or, y'all planning the next, whatever you're trying to do, business. So I enjoyed it. You know what I mean? Going back to work kind of was sucky to me, because it's like, now it's back to the running, the rat race. And I enjoy being home.
And it's funny, just the other day, we had a conversation while we were driving, and we were talking about another couple that called us and said that one was annoying the other, and it kind of brought up a conversation in our relationship. And Raashaun said to me, he was like, "You know what? Let me ask you a question. Like, do I annoy you ever?" I had to sit back and think about it. And I'm like, no. Like, I don't find you annoying at all. He's like, "Well, how could that be?" And I was like, "What do you mean, how could that be? Do you find me annoying at times?" And he was like, "No, I don't find you annoying, but I just don't know how we can be, in a relationship."
What's the one thing I said I didn't like?
About me? Oh, that I'm always late.
That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it.
He was like, "The only thing that bothers me about you is your chronic lateness." And I'm like, "All right, we'll work on
We have
that."
this rule in the house. The kids know, my assistant know, the nanny knows, everybody knows that if we have to be somewhere at 7, we got to tell Gia 6:30. That is the rule in the house. And now we got to tell.
At least it's only 30 minutes.
We got to do it.
6. Yeah, it's true.
So, I mean, you're sharing your journey in the book, and it's clear that you two literally, I mean, you say it in the book that you have spent more than half of your lives together. Yes. You grew up together, like literally. For a couple, I mean, my fiance and I, we've been together a long time too. And you basically have a bond that it goes beyond just as a couple. It's like, it's a certain level of trust as just friends and life partners. And would you say that bond that you guys shared is what helped you get through some of your battles as a couple?
Absolutely. For myself, I mean, you'd have to ask her, because usually I'm on the doing part and she's usually on the receiving part. So that would be to you.
I'll put it to you this way. And it's funny. We had a conversation yesterday while I was putting away dishes, and we were talking about something, just a piece of our relationship we're having a conversation about. And the best way to answer your question is, Raashaun, in a roundabout way, asked me to articulate how I felt about him, like if I could put it into words. And I said, the love that I feel for you isn't what you would find in what I've experienced among my friends in most marriages. I didn't just meet you, think that, you had all these qualities and decide that, I want to spend the rest of my life with you because you're going to add to my life in this list of ways. I said, the way that I love you like you're my blood. Like, I love you like we are blood. Not that, you're this person that came into my life that I checked off all of these things off of the list, like there's nothing that you could do that would dissuade me from being a part of your life, because you are like blood to me.
Mhm.
So it's that level of feeling, it's that level of intenseness. It's like, oh, you killed somebody? Like, where's the shovel? Where are we going to bury the body? You know what I mean?
Not that happened.
Not that happened, but
right. I get what you're saying.
It's unconditional and it's boundless.
Mhm.
That's where we have grown to. And maybe it had always been that way, but being in this relationship for so long, it affords you experience, which turns into wisdom and puts you in a place where you're able to articulate how you feel because you have a better understanding of it.
Now break that down. That doesn't mean I can punch you every day in your face and you're gonna be like, oh, that bond is so strong. I'm still.
No, of course not.
Because there's somebody about to be like, that girl's crazy.
No,
but
and that's what it's not about. It doesn't matter what our relationship looks like. We can be married, we could be friends, we could be whatever. When I speak of love, I'm talking about the feeling that I have for you. It doesn't mean that.
I know what you mean.
It doesn't mean that it's a pass to get away with doing whatever you want because you know that I'm always going to be here.
Correct.
Just because I love you doesn't mean that I'll always be here. You have to maintain all that's positive within you to keep what you've created. You can't take advantage and you can't take for granted what you have.
Right. But what you were saying, because to my question, you were saying like, you guys have a bond that he's like your blood. Y'all really went through the mud together. And because you guys, and this is for both of you, you got together so young, do you feel that there was anything you missed out on when it came to dating?
Missed out on, I wouldn't change anything, but I will say this. When I was younger, and I talk about it in the book, I had glasses, braces, I was 5'4". I wasn't, as my mother would say, I wasn't the cat's meow. That wasn't me, right? That wasn't me. So when I met Gia, she was my everything. She was my dream everything. She was the woman that everybody puts on their wall to me. And it was just, the fact that I had this beautiful woman and this smart, articulate woman, and I was 5'4", glasses and braces. I felt lucky, but I also felt like I could lose her at any given moment. That a guy, that was taller, that was stronger, that was smarter, that was, more handsome, that was flyer, could just take her off. And that was my insecurity. So I didn't necessarily, I was really broken with her. I wish I was grown a little bit so I wouldn't have to hurt her as much, because I was so, as Gia would say, immature. I was so immature with who I was, but I wouldn't change it for the world. There's no way. Now, there's nothing out there. This is my everything. This is my, gold star, my everything. So no, I don't know. How do you feel?
No, I don't feel as though I missed out on anything. As I'm sure you read in the book, there was certain aspirations that I had.
But she had her boyfriends, though, not to cut off. She had her boyfriend. She had her pick of the litter. She had her boys waiting outside her house. I didn't have none of that. She had me.
Period.
I kissed more than a handful of boys before we got together. But Raashaun was my first and only everything, besides kiss and besides first base. But
as you said in the book.
I'm sorry?
And you said that in the book.
Yes, he was my first everything. And my only. And, a lot of my friends, even my mother, when she was here, asked me, like, are you sure? You haven't experienced anything else? But for me, it was like, if it's not broke,
right.
Don't try to fix it. I was happy with everything that I had with him sexually and intimately. But as far as ambitions, I had ambitions. There were things that I wanted to do, a career path that I wanted to take. And for different reasons outlined in the book, we decided that I was going to be a wife and a mother. And so, yeah, I do feel there are times where I think about what could have been had I made other choices, but the answers to those questions never compare to what we created and the life we've made together. We have 6 beautiful children, including a 4-month-old baby. And for me, life could not have been any better, even considering all of the downfalls, all of the mistakes, the bad decisions, things that we could have done differently, both of us. You know, all of those things for me, it's kind of like a gift and a curse. You know, I wouldn't have changed anything, because when you experience life in negative ways, it builds character and you gain wisdom. And I love what I've come away with. And I love who we are now and all that we have to give to our children and, you know, the people around us. So all of that contributed to that. So no, I wouldn't have changed anything.
And so you have kids, you know, you got the 4-month-old and the little ones, but one's in college, and then the son, and he's playing
In high school.
He's in high school playing football. What kind of dating advice do you give your older kids?
Let me start.
Yeah, sure.
My daughter gets a true advice from her dad, right? And this is the coolest part, right? Me growing up, me and my parents didn't have similar tastes, right? They didn't listen to the music I listened to. They didn't do the things that I did. It was kind of like they did them and we did us. In this generation, we kind of have the similar taste. Like we listen to the same music. We enjoy the same things. So I can have a real conversation with my daughter. Like, for instance, my daughter was seeing some guy, and she was on her phone. The guy took her phone and looked at her DMs. So she was like, all right, well, let me see your phone. So he ran upstairs, came back like 30 minutes later, was like, here, take my phone. And I was like, you know what that means, right? And she was like, no. I said, he went up there and erased all the DMs he didn't want you to see and then brought it back down. She was like, really? I'm like, yeah, because if he didn't, he would have gave it to you right then and there. I'm able to have those conversations. You know, I'm able to say, hey, well, he's being nice because he wants to smash. All right. Now, if he doesn't smash, what's going to happen? And I'm able to have real conversations that me and my dad never had, me and my mom never had, but I'm able to have those conversations with my daughter when she's dating. You know, how does he treat you? Does he call you? Forget all this Snapchat or we can snap. No, speak to the man on the phone. Like there's no, oh, hey, how you doing through Snapchat? Like, what is that? Like, no, he can talk, he can speak. As my mother say, use your mouth, you can talk. So we're able to have those types of conversations, which I think, you know, helps her out a lot. And, you know, Gia is able to do the same.
Yes. So for my son, I'll start with my son. For me, it's very important that he learn the things in his home that a lot of young men don't learn in the home. A lot of fathers, for whatever reason, don't choose to sit their sons down and teach them how to be a man and how to treat a lady. They don't. And a lot of mothers don't really do the same things for their daughters. So with my son, I sit him down. He has his first girlfriend. He's 18. Like he's always had like friends and people that, you know, girls that he dealt with, but right now he has his first actual girlfriend. So we had to sit down and talk for about 2 hours because I had to let him know what I expected of him as a young man dating a young woman. There is always going to be respect. This is how you talk to a woman. This is how you treat a woman. When there's a special occasion, this is the extra lengths that you go to make her feel special. I'll give you an example. I'll give you an actual real example. So
A call?
no,
Oh,
Valentine's Day.
okay.
So Valentine's Day, I said, okay, so what are you doing for, I'll just say her. What are you doing for her this Valentine's Day? Oh, mom, you know, kids our age, like we don't really, it's not a big deal. We don't do anything big. You know, we don't like go out and get big gifts. And, you know, I'm like, who's we? Oh, I'm like, so you have no desire to set yourself apart from the rest of we. You don't want to stand out. You don't want to be special. You want to treat her exactly like anyone that's dated her before has treated her, and how anyone who's to come after you, if there isn't after you, will treat her. You just want to be normal. You're just content being mediocre. And he's like, this is too much for me right now. I'm like, I said, so what did you do? I'm getting her heart-shaped donuts from Dunkin' Donuts and some flowers.
He's 18.
I said, if that's not the lamest thing that I have ever heard. I said, if I were her, I would take the donuts and chuck them out the window. He said, really? I said, no, I wouldn't chuck them out the window. But in my mind, I would have visions of myself chucking them out the window. He said, why? I said, because there's no putting your foot forward with that. There's no ways that you're showing me that you went out of your way for me. You didn't do anything that put you in an uncomfortable space, that set you back, that took thought. You stopped at the drive-through and got Dunkin' Donuts and some flowers from the florist on the corner. He's like, so what should I do? And then I ran him through what I thought that he should do. And he did those things in addition to the donut and whatnot. But I'm teaching him, this is how you make a girl feel special. And then there's the things that you don't do. You always have to move with integrity. Relationships are a choice. If you don't want to be in a relationship with this girl, you don't turn around and do anything behind her back that would hurt her or upset her. You claim to like her. You claim to have strong feelings for her. You don't do anything to hurt this girl. You have to operate with integrity. You're 18 years old. If you change your mind and you don't want to be in that relationship anymore, break up with her and then move on with somebody else. You want to be with that person for 2 weeks? It's all good. Break up with them and then move on to somebody else. Make your choices and live up to your choices and do right by the people around you. And I said, and if, I ever find out that you cheat, like, I'm going to kick you out, because that is just not, that is acceptable in this house. You won't only offend her, but as a woman, you would offend me knowing that I raised someone who is better than that.
Wow. That's how you raise a man. Okay. I'm here for it. And so, in addition to Real Life, Real Love, you have your podcast, The Casey Crew. Yep. Where you also like talk about relationships but tell us like what are the kind of topics and conversations you're having on the podcast?
We talk about everything. We talk about our relationship with some of the stuff that's in the book, but also what's going on in current events. We'll talk about what happened with Chris and Will Smith on the Oscar before. We'll talk about all of that and emotional. For instance, and not to go into that, but like, we had a conversation. I said, if somebody disrespected you like that, or I felt the disrespect was there, I would want to do the same thing. And she said, yeah, well, I wouldn't allow you. I said, what do you mean? She said, if I had to jump on your back while you was running on that stage, I know that your emotion just got to you and I would want to calm that down. If I had to grab your hands and make sure you didn't go that, if you started screaming and yelling, I would be there to be that safe space for you to be like, babe, let it go. We'll deal with it later. And she said, that's what I would do. And so we have those conversations, and those are some of the things we talk about the podcast. So not just things that went on in our relationship, but things that go on in, everybody's life.
That's because, in a marriage, you're accountable for each other. It's not him and me. Everything is us. Everything is us. So when a lot of people were discussing the whole Will, Jada, Chris Rock thing, I was surprised. I didn't see one comment or commentary that how would you put that said, okay, I'm surprised that Jada didn't do something or didn't stop him or didn't attempt to prevent him from doing that. Mm-hmm. I know my husband. They've been together for a very long time as well. You look at your husband or your wife and you know what's going through their mind. You know if they're on the precipice of snapping. I would have looked at him, and as soon as he stood up, I would have stood up too. And I would have said, no, that's not what we do. That's not what we're doing here, especially knowing that he's nominated for the biggest award of the night, especially knowing that you are not just an actor, you are a blockbuster actor. Yeah. I'm not going to allow you to lose everything that you stand to lose defending me. I can take that on the chin. I can handle me. Now you sit down, you keep your composure, you sit back. If you want to have a discussion with that man afterwards, you can, but you're not going to do this defending me. Sit down. And I would have made sure of that. He would have never made it to that stage.
Mm-hmm. Oh, not with her. At least if I'd have made it, she'd have been on my back.
I would have been on. I would have been on.
No, but that's a really good angle that I haven't heard, and that's why we tune into the podcast.
Right, absolutely.
And Gia, you really did such a beautiful job with honoring your mother throughout the book. Like throughout the book, like when you said there's moments where it would make you cry, when you shared the correlation of like the wedding day and that part right there, I was like, oh my God, because I'm spiritual. I was like, oh, that's crazy right there.
Yeah.
How important was that for you?
Sharing my mother.
Yeah, to open up and dedicate the book to your mom.
It couldn't have been any other way. It couldn't have been any other way. My mother and my father are the reason why I am the human being that I am today. They poured not just so much into me, they poured everything into me. When I sit back and I size up who I am as a person, I can attribute almost every part of my personality to my parents and the example that they led with, and everything that I admired about them, and the things about them that I wanted to replicate as a wife, and even more importantly, as a parent, as a mother. The way that my mother mothered me, and the things that she taught me, and the way that that woman had my back throughout my entire life, the way that I was able to lean on her and never have to worry about judgment, never had to worry about disappointment. All my mother ever wanted from me was my true, honest, naked self. And I could trust her with that. And she gave me nothing but love and encouragement and esteem. So honoring her in the book was paramount for me, because it was just my way of sharing my love of her with the world, especially knowing that she's not here to be able to read the book and to see what we've created, you know. And it was natural.
Yeah.
The reoccurrence of her. Let me tell you something. If my mother was here, and for those that don't know, she passed away of dementia. My mother passed away at 79 years old. And at 79, had she not had dementia, it would be me, her, and Raashaun on this couch right now.
Book cover.
Yes, my mother was attached to my hip. When she came and visited me in college, I took her to the club with me. Like, my mother went everywhere with me and did everything with me. And we were on the phone 4 and 5 times a day. And I look back at those memories with a smile, because that's the mother that I am to my daughter. My daughter said to me yesterday, she's like, Mom, I want you to dress up and come to the city so we can hang out for the weekend. Like, I want to take you here and I want to go here. And I'm like, wow, how reminiscent. This is crazy.
Right.
And my daughter FaceTimes me 5, 6, 7 times a day. She calls me first thing that she does when she wakes up in the morning. Then she calls me back when she's getting dressed, in the Uber on her way to classes, on her way back home from classes. Then when she gets home to tell me how the day was. Like, we're constantly on the phone. And it's just an example of how life is 360. Like, what's poured into you enables you to pour into others. Best recipients of that is, our children.
Yeah, that part of the book was amazing as well. And even with the eldest Madison,
yeah.
She's 20.
Mm-hmm.
She's 20, and then she writes her excerpt, and then with you even sharing what she's studying in school, it's to me a direct reflection of both of you. And even that full circle moment of what you were, with you wanting to go to law school, and then her like going into like real estate, with like even the angle she wants to take. I was like, oh wow, really smart girl. So thank you guys so much. The transparency is amazing, and that's what's going to help all these couples, me included, but I think we good. Good job. But thank you guys so much. It's so great. I was really excited to talk to you because the book is really great. So real life, real love, go get it. Anything else we need to do?
That is it. Make sure you pick up the book. It's a lot, and hopefully it'll help you with your relationship. If you're having problems or situations or whatever it may be, I think there's a little bit for everybody. I mean, we've been through everything, you name it, that we've been through it. I mean, pretty much. So, and we were able to hold this thing together. So we just want to say, pick it up.